So I ordered another knitting book, and this is going to be my full review of the Vogue Knitting Ultimate Guidebook. Welcome back to GrayBush Knits. My name is Hannah. I'm coming to you from Northern Arizona, and this channel is all about my knitting journey with little bits of my life outside of knitting. So that'll include gardening, sourdough baking, as well as other craft projects like quilting or crochet, or even some sewing projects. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, please hit that subscribe button and stick around for other future videos. First of all, I'd like to talk about what I'm wearing. So this is my night shift cowl, my first version that I made last year about this time. It is made up in the recommended yarn spin cycles, and it is a beautiful color changing yarn. It is made up with 6 skeins of yarn. Not a cheap project, but one that I knew I was going to be loving and using and wearing forever, so I thought it was worth the money. This pattern, like I talked about in my first episode, is amazing. It's super easy. I think this pattern would even be great if you had some different scraps and you wanted to make this a scrappy version. This would be wonderful. This is a great pattern. Definitely look into it if you haven't already. So to start off with, this book is broken up into 15 chapters. It will cover a lot of beginner information like yarn and supplies, different accessories, things like that. Also covering different weights of yarns. It will then go into some basic techniques. So your cast-ons, your different stitch patterns, as well as increasing, decreasing, and bind off. Really great for someone that's just getting started and needs just a quick reference guide for those sorts of steps. It will then go into some intermediate techniques such as cables, color work, lace work, and some different directional knitting, which I thought was really interesting, something that I haven't heard of specifically, but I think I may have seen it in a few different patterns. I'll just kind of show some different pictures up here so that you can see some samples. And each chapter has some basic information. It will then go into a step-by-step on how to complete that stitch and a sample of what it's going to look like. This is really helpful for me. I'm a very visual person, and sometimes YouTube videos are really great for me because I can watch somebody do it while they're kind of explaining it, but other times I like having a book reference guide so that I can learn that step-by-step at my own speed. The next section goes into some advanced techniques. So we're covering brioche, double knitting, tucks, loops, elongated stitches, things that I have not yet gotten into. But some of these different techniques really were reminiscent of the ranunculus tee, and definitely things that I was really interested in looking into. I have not yet done any sort of brioche items. I have a couple patterns that I'm really excited to try, but brioche is another one of those things that I have heard from other podcasts that they're, you know, a little bit tricky, so I haven't yet gotten into that. So having this guidebook is really great for me because if I'm remembering steps 1 and 2, but then I can't remember what else to do, it's nice to just pull this out really fast, find my tab, and then go ahead and finish whatever it is that I need to do. So I absolutely love that. The next chapter covers understanding instructions, which if you're new to pattern work, this is great. It covers all of the abbreviations, some different terms, as well as some of the symbols covered in the chart patterns. Chapters 12, 13, and 14 are all design work. This is going to cover sweaters, shawls, gloves, mittens, hats, and socks. The chapter on sweaters was much more elaborate, but I thought it was really great and really, really helpful. It's gonna help anybody that is modifying a pattern to fit them better. It also goes into ribbing, shaping, your buttonholes, how to add pockets before or after the fact, and even things like different neckbands or collars. One of the things I thought was really interesting was a scarf style collar, which I haven't seen in a lot of knitwear since probably the 50s. So I was really interested to see some of those included in this book. The final chapters 15 and 16 cover embellishments and taking care of your knitwear. These are chapters that I didn't really find beneficial for the book. I am not someone that's going to be adding any kind of beadwork to any of my garments, but I could see the value in it for someone else. If you're interested in doing a shawl or something like that with a beautiful beaded detail, or if you're wanting to add embroidery to a sweater or maybe even to a felted object, it does give you some basic information on completing those tasks, which for others I thought was really helpful. The caring for your knitwear chapter was very short. It just covers the basics on washing and blocking, things along those lines. Something else that I thought was really helpful about this book was that when you are looking at a page referencing something in the book, there will be different terms used like cast-ons or ribbing or things like that. And at the bottom, there will be just a quick list of those different terms as well as the pages that more information is on for you to refer to quickly rather than having to go back to the index, find that term, and then go find the pages that are being referenced. So what I like and don't like about this book. First of all, I think it's a great amount of information for the price. It is loaded. There is something for everybody, no matter whether you're a beginner, you're intermediate, or maybe even some of those advanced techniques that you're maybe wanting to try a different kind of edging, or you're wanting to figure out how to add lace work to a shirt pattern that you already have. Or maybe you are someone who's getting into design work and you're wanting to incorporate some of these different techniques. This book is fantastic because it does cover design work, but it also covers all of those different techniques that you may want to incorporate. There's also an entire section within the designing sweaters chapter that has your step-by-step, how to figure out your sizing, how to chart different sections out, and it has all of it broken down really, really easy to access and follow through. I felt like, as someone who hasn't designed anything, take that with a grain of salt. What I don't like about this book, the number one thing that I would change is I wish it was spiral bound. How many people can fit a book this big next to them comfortably, try to read it, try to do the step-by-step of the pattern, and have room for all of that? Nobody at all. If this was spiral bound, you'd be able to flip it over, have just the page that you need set up. You'd have it on the edge of the couch while you're working on your chart, while you're watching your favorite vlogs, hopefully mine. And you will, it would just be so much easier. Why isn't this in spiral bound? I feel like all knitting books that have any sort of charts or patterns or designs should be in spiral bound. I understand they may not hold up as well, but do something to make them last. Please, please, please. Also, I wish it had tabs corresponding to the sections. So you can see here, all of the different sections have the colored tabs, just up on this top section here when you first start the chapter. And then from then on, it jumps to this side, right? The problem with that is I wish that this was set up with a quick tab guide already built in, not needing to add these, because you know what's going to get caught? My yarn. Is that going to be great? No. But this was easy for me to go over the book with you, and that works for me. Overall, I would recommend this book to anybody that is knitting at all, whether you're a beginner all the way through advanced. If you're looking for a gift for somebody that has absolutely everything, this is a great option for them. And overall, I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. The reason that I docked it off, that spiral. I wish it had the spiral. Also, the step-by-steps, like I was referring to before, the 4 pictures with the step-by-step, I felt like it described it the way that every other reference book does, in a way that I still am trying to figure out how to do it. So I end up having to go through the pictures step by step. I have to go through and read it again, read that caption again, do that step by step, and once I've done it a few times, then I can get it. So that would be my biggest problem with this book, but overall, I do think it was a great purchase. If you're interested in this book, I will link it down below. Also, if you have any other questions for me regarding this book, or if you are wondering if it covers certain things, and if you're wondering if it would be helpful for you, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd be happy to talk with you about it a little bit more. If you haven't already checked out my first episode of the podcast, please head over to that video. Also, if you know of any other books that are really helpful for any knitters at any sort of stage in their knitting hobby, please let me know. I would love to hear which books have really helped you along the way, and find out if there's any others that I need to see about getting my hands on. I will see you all next time. Bye! I don't want to hold it the whole time, my gosh. This thing is so big. That's what she said. There we go.